Hi everybody. It's Friday the 27th of September and we are on the verge of experiencing the new lunar cycle with the new moon in Libra tomorrow, the 28th. It'll kind of be nice to move out of the Virgo energies. It was all about the details and all about dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and now we get to move into Libran energy, which is balance and harmony, and a little airier, so we'll have a little bit more of an opportunity to sit comfortably with our processes. Now, there are a few other astrological aspects that are impacting us right now. We have Mercury squaring Saturn, that's in the South Node, so basically as it coincides with the lunar cycle ending, that is a major karmic settling. It is essentially, we are in that moment of understanding what the 2019 karmic astrology lessons have been all about. And I'm getting the feeling from my own experiences and observing other people that what this all fundamentally comes down to is stepping into ownership of ourselves, stepping into a place of understanding that representing ourselves in falsehood does not serve us in any way whatsoever, and that how we present ourselves authentically is no longer an option. Lies that we've told ourselves, the ideas that we've held on to in order to justify our neuroses and our limitations, those are just kind of dropping like flies. They are gone. And if we are resistant to that, then we're probably having a really hard time. And essentially, as this astrological energy shifts into Mercury, moving into square with Pluto, which I believe is already started, but I think it's actually today or tomorrow that we're feeling that. Well, Mercury is in Libra and Pluto is in Capricorn. And Mercury is the planet of communication, and Libra being the sign of balance and harmony. That's giving us this push for this sort of well, I have like the vision of Snow White, like wandering through the forest, like, I think, was it Snow White? I guess it was Snow White, yeah, walking, like, you know, tweeting to the birds and having them land on her shoulder and things, that sort of a vibe. And then on the other hand, you have Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto being the planet of death and ending, and Capricorn being this rigid, authoritarian, no-nonsense, kind of heavy energy, and they're kind of clashing a little bit. So the lesson of all this in the small picture, in terms of how we're dealing with this right now, which we'll see in the cards in a little moment, is find your kind, generous spot. Find gentleness and find compassion within yourself when you are not feeling understood, or when you find yourself up against these moments of feeling exposed because what you authentically are is not being represented by the learned responses. That's what is ending now. And so it might be a little bit uncomfortable as we go through that process. So the kinder we are with ourselves and with other people, the easier it's going to be for us to integrate that energy in a way that has minimal fallout and maximal benefit. This is all indicative of the big picture astrology that we are going to be moving into in the coming months and into January, February of 2020. So pay close attention to that, because how you're feeling, if it feels uncomfortable now to be in your authenticity, I promise it will get better, because obviously, like everything, the more we get used to something, the more it becomes easy for us to experience. And it will become something deeply edifying and that we can find warmth and joy in once the training wheels have come off. But for the time being, we still have the training wheels, and we're on like a rough, kind of uneven road. It hasn't been smooth yet. We haven't figured that part out yet. So the honing is to come. For now, center yourself. Practice the 3-second rule when you can of, thinking a little bit before you speak, because it can probably save you a lot of hassle. And take time to be in your own space and to be kind to yourself, and to understand that everyone needs that. Everyone is going to benefit from that. So if you're giving it to yourself, you're giving it to other people too. Okay, moving into the tarot. Underlying energies this week. The Empress card, the card of fertility, of abundance, clarified by the Nine of Cups, which essentially is the wish fulfillment card, and it is also a card of massive abundance. It is, to me, more about our inner being than our outer being in terms of the energies that we're dealing with this week. But regardless, what this tells me is when we look at the spread, there's a lot of cards that kind of indicate that we are still in that poverty consciousness vibe, and it's a reassurance that we can afford to step outside of that now. Things are in place. We don't have to be afraid of not having enough of whatever it is that you feel that you don't have enough of. And again, I think a lot of this comes down to that insecurity about coming into full authenticity and being able to put that out to the world without having to be aggressive or combative or defensive. I say this because at the center of our reading we have the Five of Cups. Now, the Five of Cups, it's all about nostalgia, being melancholy, being focused on this sad, darker side of the spectrum. This person is looking at their 3 spilled cups and not paying attention to the 2 cups that are still standing and the 5 cups that can't even be seen yet. But I think what this is telling us is that I have been noticing that a lot of people seem to be at this crossroads of letting go of something that they don't actually know how to define, because they are not giving themselves the I guess the grandiosity of like actually recognizing just how much they really have within themselves, and that letting go of one thing in favor of taking 9 new things is actually better for us, but we're stuck in our cozy prison of not wanting to make that kind of radical shift, because it actually requires of us to be the Queen of Swords. This is what energy we're like actually coming into, which is she doesn't take any bullshit. She knows who she is. I mean, in a more negative sense, she's a little bit cutting, like a little bitchy too, but because it's clarified by the Temperance card, which is the Libra card, and it's the card of balance and harmony and tempering ourselves, I think we're being asked to find that middle ground, to be in this authority, but towards ourselves, not towards other people, and to stop being in this state of mind. We have this, and later I'll get to it, we have the 5 of Pentacles in this too, so we're really stuck in these emotional and physical poverty conscious programming that it's not going to get us anywhere. It just doesn't work. And we're being challenged to let go of that. In the past, we have the King of Pentacles, clarified by the 9 of Pentacles. This is very much telling us what the root cause of the 5 of Cups energy is, and that is that when we come into a sense of permitting ourselves to see our worth as the sum total of our parts in the physical world, and that gives us a sense of self-contentment, and it also stunts our growth emotionally and in terms of adventure and experiences and ideas. We stop being in magician mode. We stop like having that special magic fairy dust capacity that comes from the imagination, and this is just, it's being too grounded. I know that sounds weird, because most people think that that's the most important thing to be, is grounded, and in many ways spiritual grounding for sure, but you know, we live in a very materialistic world, and when we're too comfortable, we don't grow. In the recent past, which essentially to me tells the story, because that's how the Celtic cross spread works, we have the Knight of Swords clarified by the Queen of Wands. Now the Knight of Swords is very swift action, and it to me is that we've already perhaps, this is that process of eliminating this stuck energy, and it's so swift that perhaps we haven't actually even assimilated that process yet. Queen of Wands as a clarifier tells me though that we're coming into we're moving out of the Pentacles energy and into the Wands energy, and that is where the key lies to the next growth stage in our lives. We need to go into the place of ideas and ownership of our ideas, and understanding that our authentic self is going to be in alignment with our actions. In other words, the philosophical truths that really truly represent who we are, that we've come to know inside of ourselves without all of that bullshit that Pluto is eliminating, that person is going to flourish in self-confidence. This is really truly a card of self-confidence above all. In our immediate future, we have the Two of Wands clarified by the Ace of Cups. Two of Wands being a card of informed decision. It is a card of ownership. It is a card of self-confidence again, of knowing that the choices that we have are all good, because if we are the common element in that, it will be a success no matter what. Contrary to the Two of Swords, which is a decision, a blindfolded decision, where we don't have all the information, and so therefore we come from a place of massive insecurity in making that. That is no longer our reality. Whatever big picture, and I do get the feeling that these are big picture decisions we are faced with, we have come into a place of, through this process that we just talked about, of ownership, of authenticity, of self-knowledge, and that is leading via the idea focus of the Wands, of the Queen of Wands that we just saw. It is leading us into a place of assured success. And being clarified by the Ace of Cups, I'd say that we're really looking very much into the emotional realm here. And I think it's very important, because it's my inclination anyway to look at things very psychologically and in it from an emotional perspective. But the reason I look at things that way is because how we experience things emotionally is going to naturally determine how we experience everything in the physical world. Whether that be what's on your bank account, or how you decorate your house, or how your living space makes you feel, or whether you attract the right types of friendships and partnerships into your life. All of these things come from emotional well-being. Crowning our reading, we have the Devil. And the Devil is a card of, I'd say in this case, indulgence. And I don't see it as being anything particularly serious, because we are talking about a weekly read. But the fact that it was clarified, and I had 3 clarifiers, by the Four of Wands, which is a card of festivities, and the Queen of Pentacles, which is a card of material wealth, and the Devil. When the Devil clarifies the Devil, it pretty much means that I'd say, as Temperance was at the center of our reading, we should probably look out for being too overindulgent, just because that is going to affect our ability to be at the top of our game in terms of this process of embodying our authenticity. And it also might make it a little bit more difficult for us to be measured in our need to focus on being balanced and harmonious and more delicate in the way that we interact with the outside world. So if you're going to party, don't party hard. If you're going to just don't lose control. There are always times to lose control, but with these energies, I'd say it's probably not the best idea. Stay mindful, stay present. In the immediate future, we do have the Six of Swords travel card, but also a card of moving into smooth waters, coming from a place where things were more difficult into a place where things will be more easy flowing. And it was clarified by the Six of Cups, which is another card of, well, it's probably the warmest emotional card in the sense that I think I'm picking up that this is more about as we come into this authenticity within ourselves and we come into an understanding that we set our own boundaries and we own our own boundaries and that we don't need to test our boundaries with other people, that if we feel provoked or uncomfortable in our communications, that we don't need to fall out of balance in our response system, that we can be content in ownership of ourselves, and that there's nothing to prove to other people. People either experience the flow of authentic exchange in interaction, or they come from a place of poverty consciousness where they feel the need to put down other people's thoughts or take ownership of things or prove themselves in some shape or form. And I think what this is telling me is that we're moving beyond that, and we're moving into a place of being able to see the kinder aspects of our counterparts, and to find ourselves in the Libran energy being more mindful of how our words and actions affect other people. In our environment, we have the Five of Pentacles that I was talking about earlier, the poverty consciousness card, and clarified by the Wheel of Fortune. Thank goodness, because essentially I'm getting the message that the Wheel of Fortune is telling us that this is on the way out, finally. And I do say finally because I think that if we're all honest with ourselves and we look into this process honestly about how much we have not allowed ourselves to be in our authenticity and to really truly take ownership of like our flaws and our strengths, well, I just think that we need to like recognize how far we've come and understand that poverty consciousness is ultimately the biggest stumbling block and obstacle that any person can have in their life. And it's so easy to fall into this because it's something that not only manifests, as we were talking about before, about the emotional balance between, you know, how we are on the inside and how we're going to experience that in our material existence. It's like having a rotten core. It is like being in the position where no matter what you have, nothing is good enough because you're always in a place of control and of fearing loss, of fearing humiliation, of fearing retribution, of fearing the idea, well, it's the very basis of, like, you know, punitive religions, you know, that too much of a good thing is going to end up in tears or in some kind of disaster or tragedy. And this is all, these are lies. These are lies that we are taught in our society in order to uphold the very foundations of corporate capitalism, essentially. I mean, it is the idea that like you need to buy something else, you need to have something else in order to make up for that void inside. And when you get to that point of understanding that you're in control of the void, you decide how much of a void there is, all of that starts to crumble. And you start to realize that you have way more power than you could possibly have ever imagined, because you have the ability to shift that away. And I think I've said this before, you know, that's what's so interesting about the Five of Pentacles card, because those people, they're choosing not to go inside where that beautiful stained glass window is. They're not going into the church. They're moving along outside in their misery because they're attached to it. And the growing pains of this like shift that we were talking about, like with Saturn and Pluto, I think that's what this is all about. It is the karmic resolution of that. It is, it just can't exist anymore. It doesn't fit. And the uncomfortable side of that is actually realizing that and then figuring out how many different parts of your life it applies to, because it's kind of huge when you break it down. Speaking of, in our hopes and fears, we have the Four of Swords clarified by the High Priestess. Now, what I think this is that what we're really afraid of, again, because of still like having little remnants of that poverty consciousness, Five of Pentacles energy, and the Five of Cups that we had as the center of our reading, we're fearful that we're never going to get out of the headspace part of the process. That, you know, it's like, oh God, I'm constantly going inside of myself and analyzing and like, you know, like, when is this going to end? When am I actually going to like be able to put all of this hard work and put this new authentic version of myself into practice, out into the world, you know? And again, only we have that power. We are the ones that make this our reality. We are the ones that hold on to false beliefs and define ourselves in ways that limit us and that make us feel that we deserve less than we do. And as I said, that is ending. So we don't need to focus on this, but it is a fear. And the High Priestess is, I think it's telling us that we need to stop being so fearful of the balance that's required between the inner mind and our outside experiences. You know, meditation on a daily basis, well, any kind of self-reflective practice on a regular basis is integral to eliminating poverty consciousness. And sometimes I think we become fearful of that because we think to ourselves that if we don't adhere to that kind of a practice in our lives, that we're going to lose control. Spirituality is not about control. It is about surrender. So remember that when you're having that kind of a dichotomy, like the dilemma of you know, the devil and the angel on the shoulder. Like, you should, you know, watch Netflix, you should meditate, whatever it is in your particular world. You know, you can do both. That's probably what it really comes down to. Just, you know, again, abundance. There's 24 hours in the day, and if you don't get it done today, there's always tomorrow. But at the same time, being present in your life pretty much eliminates that push and pull, like, you know, the tension that you're creating within yourself, telling yourself that there are all these limits that are really not there, like, because you control them yourself. our outcome, we have the Ace of Pentacles, the King of Cups, and the Eight of Wands. Now, you can't really go wrong with like the Ace of Pentacles as the outcome, because it is opportunity. I mean, I feel like this is actually a tangible opportunity that's on offer here. I've been getting this vibe all week that like somehow we're like, I guess not everybody can be like on the verge of getting a job offer or like some kind of a promotion or, you know, whatever it is, but it is a gift. There's a huge gift coming in the form of an opportunity. The Pentacles do tend to be more from the realm of the material realm, but the fact that it came with the King of Cups, which is a deep emotionally, a person who has come into complete ownership of their emotions, who doesn't live in any kind of emotional fear, and the Eight of Wands being communication, a lot of communication. It's entirely possible. I mean, this could be in any realm. It could be, well, I'll let your imaginations go wild as to what it could be, but it's pretty huge. And the fact that that is our outcome, and the fact that it was clarified by the Two of Cups, makes me feel that there is some kind of an emotional offer on the way. And if you're open to that, if that's what you're looking for, a relationship or some kind of experience in that domain, that could be there too. But whichever way you look at it, it's a pretty good outcome, and one of abundance. So I think that this entire reading is telling us that the you know, this is a process, and we're in the process right now. And when we get to the end of next week and we've gone through this new moon energy and this end of, well, it's not the end, but like a huge karmic shift that is taking place right now, I think we're going to feel very differently come the next video that I'll do. Moving on. We're going to end with our wonderful animal spirit oracle. This week we got Turtle Spirit. Slow and steady wins the race. Turtle Spirit arrives to remind you that when you do what you need to do, putting one foot in front of the other and trusting that you will see your intentions manifest in perfect timing, your prosperity and love will grow exponentially. Now is not the time to rush around trying to force matters. Move slowly, perhaps even so slowly that it almost feels as if you are not moving at all. This may be a time to crawl before walking, taking your time to align to Turtle Spirit's place as you contemplate this road you are on, doing what you need to do in this small moment that will soon pass. Turtle Spirit reminds you that sometimes the best action is to slow right down, so if it feels as if you are not doing enough, know that simply being aware of what is happening right now may be an important step toward determining whether you need to pivot or simply keep putting one foot in front of the other. True love and true success come with patience, says Turtle Spirit. Focus on the now, and the next step will be clear. The protection message of Turtle Spirit is, pushing too hard or rushing to leave others in the dust is not the way of Turtle Spirit, even if it seems at times it is the way of the world. Turtle Spirit wants you to remember that you are a human being, not a human doing. In the protection position, Turtle Spirit is giving you the message that the best thing to do right now is let go of the drive to compete or control or do more. Instead, simply be. As an old Norse saying goes, we do without doing and everything gets done. Spirit conspires on your behalf, so slow to a crawl or even stop. releasing any fear that life is a race that you might be losing. Trust that peace, prosperity, love, and purpose are all yours to enjoy right now. Do not do, simply be. So I guess, in summing everything up, you can pretty much say that this is the last leg of a karmic release, and we need to be patient for the next few days. We need to sit with ourselves. We need to focus on balance, harmony, being the best version of ourselves, and letting go of poverty consciousness once and for all, knowing that that is the karmic lesson of this era. And on that note, it isn't a quote, or it could be a quote, I have no idea, but it was actually a meme that I saw on Instagram, but I thought it was very, very helpful. I need my glasses for that. I'm going to read from my computer, so forgive me for looking away from the camera. But I felt like this was very apt and sort of the perfect message to sum all of this up. So here goes. Find a way to fall in love with your life so intensely that watching another person love theirs is a confirmation, not a threat. Be so involved with cultivating your own talents and forging through your own desires that you don't have the time or energy to criticize how others live. Determine for yourself what matters to you, how you want to experience life, and let that, and only that, be your map. Stop letting other people's lives be your map. Let yourself want what you want and be patient. Let it unfold, see what's right in front of you, and listen to your wild urges, to your painful jealousies, to the what-ifs and the why-not-me's, and reach small step by small step until you can't remember when you ever felt anything but wholly in love with the life you've intentionally created. And that's probably a lot more simple to do when you let go of this. When you let go of this and you focus on this. And on that note, I wish you a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Tell me why. Tell me why. Test of time, it's no secret, what am I, if not for you? Make it rhyme, it's not a crime unless I do it just to do what you do. Have we forgotten where we came from? Have we suffered this equation as it lingered? In fate, what you given, what I take. You can't rely on everything staying true. Why have you come this far just to have your star on my walk of shame? Dry like the morning star that I watch and remember like it's always sweet September. I'm only happy with you, sweet sweetheart. You put a hunger in me, and I know it only goes when you're near. If I could make buildings tumble, they tumble around only you. What I do just for you. rely on everything staying true? Why have you come this far just to have your star on my walk of shame? Dry like a morning star that